If Russia were collapsing tomorrow, this video wouldn't matter. What makes this dangerous is that collapse doesn't announce itself. It creeps in quietly through narrowing options, brittle systems, and leaders who start believing extreme risks are safer than slow decline. That's where Russia may be heading now, not toward sudden collapse, but toward something far more unstable. And when a nuclear-armed state reaches that phase, history tells us the warning signs deserve attention. Welcome to Crucial Conversations. Today we're not talking about daily battlefield updates or breaking news. We're stepping back to look at Russia as a system, its incentives, constraints, and trajectory, and asking simple but uncomfortable questions. Has Russia backed itself into a position where only dangerous options remain?
Для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф.
Since the end of World War II, the world has operated under an informal but powerful set of rules. Borders are not supposed to change by force. Major powers compete indirectly rather than directly, and nuclear weapons exist to prevent their own use. This order survived the Cold War, the collapse of the Soviet Union, and countless proxy wars. It was never perfect, but it was stable enough to prevent catastrophe. That stability is what Russia chose to test in 2022. From the Kremlin's point of view, the timing appeared ideal. The United States had withdrawn chaotically from Afghanistan. Europe seemed divided and deeply dependent on Russian energy. Western democracies were polarized internally, and Russian propaganda had spent years portraying the West as weak, decadent, and unwilling to sacrifice. Putin didn't believe he was starting a prolonged conflict. He believed he was ending one quickly. A short campaign that would confirm Russia's relevance and force the West to accept a new reality. That assumption was wrong, and everything that follows flows from that miscalculation. Instead of fracturing, the West unified. Sanctions weren't symbolic gestures, they were structural. Russia was cut off from global finance, advanced technology, industrial machinery, aerospace maintenance, and long-term investment. Just as importantly, Finland and Sweden, countries that had avoided military alliances for generations, joined NATO. Rather than pushing NATO away from Russia's borders, the invasion expanded it. Strategically, this was the opposite of what Moscow intended. Here's where things get subtle. At first glance, Russia's economy appeared to hold up better than expected. The ruble stabilized, energy exports continued. Official statistics suggested resilience, but authoritarian systems are exceptionally good at hiding decay. What sanctions did wasn't cause an immediate crash. They removed the future. Russia can still sell commodities, but it struggles to replace the advanced manufacturing, high-end computing, industrial software, and complex supply chains. An economy can survive like this for years, but it stops evolving. That distinction matters. Great powers aren't defined by survival alone. They're defined by momentum, technological, institutional, and demographic. Russia is increasingly locked into a model where it exports raw materials and imports finished goods, often from a single dominant player. And that's not superpower structure. The war itself exposed another weakness. Russia's military reputation rested on scale, massive arsenals, Cold War stockpiles, and the image of an inexhaustible production. Ukraine revealed the limits of that model. Precision mattered more than volume. Logistics mattered more than bravado. Training mattered more than propaganda. As losses mounted, Russia began sourcing weapons externally, something almost unthinkable for a formal global arms exporter. This wasn't just humiliating. It revealed that Russia was burning through its own capacity faster than it could replace it. Now pause here for a moment, because this is where systems begin to turn inward. External pressure doesn't just weaken a state's economy or military, it reshapes internal politics. Putin's system has always been personalist. Loyalty to the leader mattered more than loyalty to institutions. That works when power feels secure. It becomes dangerous when it doesn't. As pressure increased, trust inside the elite shrank. Reports of food tasters, mysterious deaths, executives falling from windows, and sudden people unaliving themselves all send the same message: proximity to power is risk. In systems like this, elites don't rebel loudly. They hedge quietly, they move money, secure passports, and prepare exits. That kind of silent disloyalty corrodes a regime far more effectively than an open opposition. And this connects to one of Russia's least discussed vulnerabilities: demographics. Russia was already facing population decline before the war. Since 2022, hundreds of thousands of working-age Russians, engineers, programmers, doctors, and entrepreneurs have left, not necessarily because they hate Russia, but because they no longer see a future inside the country. Young Russians bypass censorship with VPNs, compare narratives, and recognize the gap between state propaganda and reality. A country can survive losing revenue. It struggles to survive losing its future. Its people. At the same time, Russia's relationship with China has shifted. Officially, it's a partnership. In practice, it's increasingly asymmetric. Energy exports flow east at discounted rates. Technology imports come with conditions. Diplomatic support is selective. Russia once feared becoming a junior partner. That fear has largely materialized. And this brings us to the most uncomfortable part of the conversation: nuclear weapons. Russia still possesses one of the world's largest nuclear arsenals, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is the strategic environment around them. Nuclear deterrence assumes rational actors with multiple viable options. History shows that as states lose conventional power, economic leverage, diplomatic influence, and internal legitimacy, the relative value of extreme tools increases, not because leaders want to use them, but because alternatives shrink. This is where personalist rule becomes uniquely dangerous, when national survival and personal survival blur together. Decision-making changes. This does not mean nuclear use is inevitable. It means the risk environment worsens. The fewer non-catastrophic exits a leader perceives, the more unstable the system becomes for everyone. Now here's the key point that often gets missed. Collapse doesn't usually look like fireworks. It looks more like institutional hollowing, elite fragmentation, capital flight, demographic erosion, strategic dependency, and escalating repression. Sometimes this process takes decades, sometimes it accelerates suddenly. The Soviet Union didn't collapse at its most dramatic moments. It collapsed when belief finally evaporated. Russia today shows multiple signs of a system that has narrowed its future paths. The question isn't whether Russia changes, it's how fast, and at what cost. It may stabilize, it may stagnate, it may fracture, or it may surprise everyone, but pretending collapse isn't even a possibility is no longer serious analysis. So I'll leave you with this. Are we watching a slow decline, or the early stages of something far more sudden? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. This has been Crucial Conversation. Subscribe if you want more long-form geopolitical analysis without the shouting. Until next time, this is Brent.